Hello everyone, my name is Arundhati Amsani and welcome to my channel. In this session, we are going to discuss question tags, which are an essential element of grammar. We are going to look at the form and function and how they could enhance your communication in your daily conversations. Okay, and basically it's about making it easier for you rather than making it complex and for daily usage. So that's what we're going to look at. So question tags or tag questions are used by native speakers all the time. They're an essential, indispensable part of their communication. And if you go to any English-speaking country, that is the first thing that's very obvious to you. They use question tags anywhere and everywhere because it's not only a simple but effective way to put across your message in many different forms. Let's look at that. So basically, question tags are nothing but they are very short questions which are used to ask for confirmation. Most of the times, question tags are used for confirming something. And in formal situations like in our classroom between teacher and students, it is used to elicit the desired response. And we're going to look at some examples later. But question tags are also used to make sure that others agree to your point of view. Okay, so as you can see, it is also very persuasive. It's effective persuasive communication tool. And when you're not sure whether the other people are agreeing with you, you can just pop a question tag to find out if they agree or not. Okay, and very rarely, but sometimes, question tags are also used to make requests. Okay, so as I said before, question tags are basically short questions, and that these come always after a statement and not before a statement. They actually refer to the statement made before, and because of that thing, they grab the attention of the listener. Okay, so you make it very clear for the person without using roundabout long sentences. Okay, so that is what question tags are about. So let's look at the structure. Okay, so if the statement is positive, the question tag would be negative, and if the statement is negative, the question tag would be positive. So if people can understand Hindi, you generally say hai na. So that is a substitute for question tags. Okay, and question tags never have nouns in them because the noun is already mentioned in the statement that has been made before. So these question tags always have pronouns, and that is why you don't find a noun. Question tags can never be formed by nouns. Okay, so that is another thing to remember. Now, let's look at the structure of question tags. Okay, sorry for that long pause. I was actually looking at the right slide. So structure of question tags. If the statement is positive, okay, so if you have the positive or affirmative statement, then the question tag has to be opposite in nature. Okay, that is how you ask for confirmation. If you just make the statement positive and the question tag positive, that wouldn't make sense. So whenever the statement is positive, the question tag always has to be opposite in sense, meaning negative. And question tags are formed by the helping verbs that are there in the main statement. Okay, so you never form question tags with the main verbs. You always use auxiliary verbs or helping verbs. I hope everyone, or I'm sure that everyone knows what helping verbs are. These are basically the verbs that are used, as in present tense. For example, you have is, are, am, and in past tense you have was, were. Okay, in future you have will, would, shall, should, okay, etc. So these are your auxiliary verbs, and question tags are formed by auxiliary verbs and not main verbs. So if the statement is positive, you're going to use an auxiliary verb followed by the contraction form of not. You don't use the word not, but you use an apostrophe T. As I told you, question tags are strictly confined to conversational English only. You don't use them in written communication. Okay, so for that reason, you use contraction to make it shorter. and you always follow it by subject, which is your pronoun. Okay, so that is your basic structure. Now, as I told you, the question tag should always be opposite in sense to the statement that has been made. So if the statement is negative, the question tag has to be positive. So in this case, in positive question tag, you won't be having a contraction for not. Okay, no not. So it has to be positive. So just the auxiliary verb and the subject would suffice. Okay, and sometimes you have a main and an auxiliary verb in the same sentence. So in that case also, you're going to form your question tag with the help of the auxiliary verb and not the main verb. We're going to look at some examples later. Just please bear this in mind. Okay. Now, in some other sentences, you only have a main verb, as in simple present tense, simple past tense, etc. Okay, and you won't find an auxiliary verb. In simple present, for example, you might say, she learns a lot. He goes for a walk every day. So there you don't find any auxiliary verb. But when you're trying to form a question tag, you have to find out the hidden auxiliary verb in that statement, which is basically for simple present, do or does. For simple past, it would be did. Okay, so do is for plural forms, does is for third person singular, and did is for simple past. So based on that, you're going to make your question tag, but you're never going to use the main verb for forming a question tag. Okay, so let's look at the examples here. That would cover everything that I've said so far. So Preston is a beautiful place. This just to start with. This is a positive statement. So is your auxiliary verb here, number one. And what is the subject here? It is the name of a place, a noun. So what is the noun here? Preston. So when you want to form your question tag, you can't use the word Preston because you have to use the corresponding pronoun. So because it is neither a man or a woman, you're going to use the pronoun it in the question tag. So the question tag would become is not it. So you're using the contraction form for not. So it would become isn't it. So putting all of this together, you would say Preston is a beautiful place. You make a statement followed by isn't it. Okay, Preston is a beautiful place, isn't it? So this will elicit some sort of confirmation. Okay, so if the other person is thinking the same, then he would say yes it is, or no isn't, it isn't. Okay, or you see, this is also helping you to understand what the other person feels, thinks about it. Okay, so many functions, one question, so many different functions. Okay, let's look at the next sentence here. Okay, so this is in simple present tense. So the sentence is students learn better with pictures. So what is the subject here? Subject is your students, which is in plural form. And because of this, the pronoun is also going to be in plural form, which is they. Okay, that is nominative case. Okay, that's a bit complex, but I hope you understand. Okay, students become they. Now the auxiliary verb here is hidden because it's a simple present tense. So the main verb is learn. So what did we learn previously? Whenever there is simple present or whenever there is only main verb in a sentence, you would use the auxiliary verb do. Okay, and because this is a positive sentence, you're going to use the opposite of do. So that is don't. And the sentence becomes students learn better with pictures, don't they? Okay, so that is how you use the question tag. I haven't written it here, so if you understood, you can leave it in the comments box. You can write it in the comments box. Let's look at some more examples here. Maths can be difficult. What can be difficult? What is the subject here? Maths. And can be. So the auxiliary verb is can. And what should you do in question tags? You're going to take the negative of can. What is the negative of can? Can't. And the pronoun for maths is it. Okay, so can't it. Right? Now let's look at the next one. I am not selected. Now I told you whenever you have the auxiliary verb am, you should use the negative of it. But can you say amn't? No. That's unnatural. That's not normal to say. So you use aren't. That is English for you. So this is an exception. So whenever you say I'm not selected and you put a question mark, aren't I? Then the other person might say that, yeah, I didn't see your number on the notice board, so you're not selected. Something like that. Or maybe you've been selected, etc. Okay. Now another statement here. Question tags are interesting. So question tags is plural here. Plural, right? You have an S, question tags. And the auxiliary verb is are. So very simple. Just take the are, put not to it, contract, aren't they. They is the pronoun for question tags, which is plural. Now, next one. Nothing was mentioned about final exams. It's quite tricky one. If you just go mechanically, it wouldn't make sense. Okay, because what I'm trying to say is when you're trying to put a question tag to it, if you mechanically follow like in mathematics, you would get it wrong. Okay, so was is the auxiliary verb here. I agree, but you can't use wasn't it in the question tag. Why? Because even though was is used in the statement is negative in its sense. Okay, because can you see nothing there? Okay, so nothing means was becomes negative here. So if anything was mentioned, then you could say was something mentioned. Something was mentioned about final exams, wasn't it? In that case, you can say wasn't. But here, nothing was mentioned. So that's a negative statement. Then you're asking, was it? Okay, so was remains was because the statement is negative. Now look at the next one. Switch on the fan, will you? Okay, so this is a request. We don't usually make these sort of requests, do we? But it does make sense, and next time you could make a request like this. So switch on the fan, will you? So you're confirming that the other person is going to make that favor for you. Okay, next one. Vikings were Scandinavian warriors. Okay, so this is in past tense, very distant past. Okay, so obviously Vikings were Scandinavian warriors. So we know the noun here is Vikings and the auxiliary verb is were. So you're going to make it into negative, and obviously Vikings is plural. So you would say Vikings were Scandinavian warriors, weren't they? Next one. This is another auxiliary or modal verb as well. Okay, so you shouldn't miss your breakfast. Okay, so you're saying as a suggestion, maybe a child has missed a breakfast, so teacher could say this: you shouldn't miss your breakfast. And then shouldn't, opposite of shouldn't is should. You remains you, so should you. She won't do that again. So won't is a contraction of will not. So will she? Okay, so the subject is as such a pronoun in the sentence, so we are not going to change that. Let's look at some more examples just to make it more clearer. And here you have an auxiliary verb and a main verb. So what do you take for your question tag? The auxiliary verb, right? So you have watched my previous videos. Have and watched. So you're going to pick have, you make it negative, and then put the you as it is, because that's the subject. You have watched my previous videos, haven't you? It looks like it's going to rain. Okay, so look at this one. It only has the main verb because it's a simple present. It looks like, okay, it's going to rain. So it's going to rain is another, fragment, another clause of the sentence. But basically at present, it looks like it's going to rain. So because it's simple present, you're going to use does. Okay, but because this is a positive statement, you're going to make it negative and it becomes doesn't. It looks like it's going to rain, doesn't it? Now this one, next one, it is going to rain. Okay, here is your auxiliary verb, isn't it? Very simple, right? Because there is only one auxiliary verb, there's no main verb. So this is how it works, people. And next one. Sarah has spoken to you. just as the previous sentence, you watched my previous videos, here also it is present perfect. Okay, so Sarah has spoken. Has is your auxiliary verb, spoken is your main verb. So hasn't she, because she is the pronoun and Sarah is your noun. Okay, she hasn't yet submitted the report. Has she? Okay, that's another one. And you haven't been to Canada. Okay, here the verb been means gone to, visited, etc. Okay, so that cannot be auxiliary verb. So the auxiliary verb here is haven't, means they have not gone yet. Okay, so you haven't. So the opposite of haven't is have. So you haven't been to Canada, have you? You should take plenty of rest. Should is your auxiliary verb and you remains as you. That's the subject and pronoun as well. So opposite of should will be shouldn't. So you should take plenty of rest, shouldn't you? Okay. They couldn't attend the seminar. Couldn't is your negative auxiliary verb. This is a negative statement. So the question tag has to be positive. So people, that's a brief refresher of question tags. So if you have any sort of queries about question tags, or if you want to learn anything more, it always helps to have a discussion. So you can just leave your views, ideas and queries in the comments box. That is how you can help this channel grow. And please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.